they would go and they would have like verbal duels, and he would also he would go out and stand up the person who claimed to be the smartest in the village or the town, and they would have like a debate, and Socrates would, he would go and ask questions, and through his Socratic approach, make the people look like fools. But he was actually testing the knowledge, and his whole thing was that, hey, I'm not the smartest person in the world. You're claiming to be the smartest person in the world, and if I can make you, I don't want to say look stupid, but look stupid for lack of better terms, like I become that person, and eventually that's when they kicked his ass out. They was like, "Hey man, you're making the whole fucking town look stupid." And they boxed him out, and they made my man drink the hemlock, and he ended up dying.
Today, Corey Gregory, Maurice Claret, and myself go over the most influential thinkers that we have read, that we have heard speak, that we have just immersed ourselves in over the course of our lifetime. We go from people like Andrew Carnegie, who obviously impacted America and the world, to people like Sun Tzu, who wrote The Art of War, to people like John C. Maxwell, Earl Nightingale, and several other authors and thinkers that have contributed to our lives, our lifestyles, and our business practices. These are people that you guys need to hear about. And I am so excited that we get the chance to share them with you. So without further ado, let's roll into the show.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Business and Biceps. And you better wake your ass up, because on today's show, we're going to go over some amazing thinkers that have created a crazy amount of discipline in people's lives through their teachings. And each one of us got a few guys that we're going to talk about. And I can't wait to hear these two really good thinkers. I got as co-hosts, John Fosco and Maurice Claret, really go deep on some war tactics, on some just amazing thinkers that you guys are going to want to follow up with as a listener. You're going to want to read some of these books. You're going to want to take some of these things straight to the bank, I think. And of course, the podcast is brought to you by, today, foursigmatic.com. If you guys would love to try an amazing brand at Four Sigmatic, the mushroom coffee mix with lion's mane and chaga, which increases focus and provides long-lasting energy with no jitters. You can go to foursigmatic.com/BIZBIS15, and it'll give you that automatic discount of 15%. And because I know you're in and out of the market, but you don't want to pay trading fees, please download Robinhood. It's an app that John and I have been using for a long time. And you can go to biceps.robinhood.com and get a free share of stock, whether it's Apple, Ford, or Sprint. They want to extend that deal out to you guys so you can get a chance to check out the app. And of course, if you haven't tried the Max Effort Muscle Crispy Treat, you're missing out at maxeffortmuscle.com. All right, guys, how we doing today? What the fuck is going on?
What the fuck is going on?
I ain't slept in like a day. Hey, yeah, I ain't slept in a day. Let's get this bitch started.
Wake your ass up.
Straight on that red eye life, boy. Let's go.
Yeah, exactly, man. Some exciting things. But no, this topic's great because there's three of us and we all have different approaches to life. And I believe that everyone who, is an introspective thinker, has a certain approach based on content they consume, people they look up to, and strategies that they believe in. And the people we dig into today and the thought processes that we dig into today, I believe are going to open the eyes of our listeners to a lot of new people, man, to a lot of different schools of thought. So I'm excited, man. I'm excited.
Well, as usual, I'm excited. But Corey, I'm with you, but I have a little bit more energy today. I didn't get into the bed. I didn't get in bed until 1 o'clock. Got off the road from speaking last night. I was up at 4 and got into bed at 1. So that's what is that, 21 hours?
Nice.
That was a long day, but I still got my ass up. And I still hit the gym, and I still did what I had to do. and I love it. But this was cool when John even texted this over and he said he wanted to talk about this. And even as I'm thinking here now, when I was in prison, John, this is how I learned about Confucius. I took a philosophy course, and I probably studied these guys for close to about a year and a half from some coursework that I got from Ohio University, and that was like the introduction and me understanding the mechanics of thinking and more philosophical. That's what I learned about Socrates from, and some of the great thinkers. But I'll let everybody else get into this. But when you talked about this, I'm pretty sure this will jog my memory, and I'll be able to add some value in some spaces. Also, James Allen Corwin was talking about. I love some of his material. Still, some of his material is phenomenal. And I think like even when you hear some motivational guys and guys who really dig into reading a bunch. If you listen to Tony Robbins, if you listen to if you listen to Maxwell, if you listen to just some guy, the profound motivational, inspirational, or however they want to label themselves as teachers, these guys dig from a lot of that information, but they explain it in a more contemporary way, if that makes any sense. But I enjoy hearing it because it makes you obviously shift perspective and just it gives value to your thinking. That's my personal opinion.
Well, I think there's an ongoing, what I love about this show is, we all can express where maybe some of our kind of principles have come from that have led us to this point of each of our careers, right? And I think that, like, I'm excited to hear why you guys like, this guy or that guy or this book or that book, and how deep, and most people that I've ran into that have success have 1 to 3. They might have read thousands of books, but there's 1 to 3 that are probably the game changer, and there's certain reasons why. And I think, one of the ones that John has mentioned a lot since I've even met John, The Art of War, and I've never read that book. It's about a bazillion pages. I never even read the Cliff Notes, so I'm excited to hear John. If that's where you're going to start at, John, and then I have questions about it because I don't really know much about it. So I'm going to be learning just like the listener today. I mean, 100%.
Yeah, so The Art of War is looked at as one of the most influential books, period. I consider it a strategy Bible, and a strategy Bible for anything you're doing, whether it be athletics, whether it be business, whether it be philosophy. And it was written by Sun Tzu, who was probably the most famous military general and strategist. He lived in the early 500s BC, and basically he took on not only a physical and tactical thought process when it came to battle. He put most of his time and energy into developing his warriors' minds and to teaching them how to think. Because just for example, like one of the quotes he's most famous for, right, is the supreme art of war is to subdue the enemy without fighting. And if you think about that, you can apply that to 100 different places. And the brilliance of someone who leads men into war, but also has the other side of his brain working on, just because I'm a general and just because I lead men into war, that doesn't mean I should always lead men into war. When I lead men into war as a leader, we have to strategically break this down and make sure that we are prepared for success, right? And if you heard what I just said, it sounds like every business conversation we have, guys. It's like you only get involved in things that you have done your research on, you prepare, and you are ready to succeed in. So when you're looking at what this guy did, Corey, just to give you a little background, is he opened minds that originated on the battlefield and now exist on Wall Street and in corporate America and on Kobe Bryant's desk, all the way across the world. So he is a thinker who started in battle and now has broken into every category, not on purpose.
Zelp, you think that book? Sorry, Reese, I didn't mean to jump you. Does it get that book kind of teach that killer instinct? You think, John?
It absolutely teaches the killer instinct, but beyond teaching the killer instinct,
Does LeBron need it?
LeBron needs this motherfucker so bad. But Corey,
I know. Hey, I hope I don't get tweeted now. I'm a LeBron fan. Sorry. I was saying that for John, actually.
Yeah.
Good, John.
No, but beyond teaching a killer instinct, it teaches if you have to kill, but you better be ready to kill. So it's not just, let's go out and kill. It's if we are going to kill, we are going to make sure that when we go to kill, the dude's already dead before we meet him, right? So it's that. And that is, in a nutshell, what successful business is, right? People don't launch a product and say, I wonder if it's going to work.
Yeah, it knows it's going to work already.
Yeah. Exactly. They do the market research and then they take it to market, right? That's the same as looking at your enemy, assessing him, assessing the conditions in which the battle will take place outside, the geography, and knowing when to strike. It's just like launching a product. Okay. And that's core. That's why I love it. I'm sorry, Mo. Go ahead.
No, I want to know. I'm staying with you because obviously you have this thing. I just like to. One thing I learned, I was doing the film, the 30 for 30, and in filmmaking, probably will go down as probably one of the most beautiful things ever in my life, right? But when I was doing a bunch of interviewing, we were always said, unpack that thought, and they would always throw out more thought-provoking questions. And my intention is in asking these questions is for the listener to get like more value and like how would this help him, because this is what came into my mind. And I was going to ask you, like, what was your initial intention for even wanting to read The Art of War initially? And as you started to read it, like, has it changed with going back? And I'm just looking for more intention. With you don't come from, and I just kind of let you roll with it from there.
Sure. So this came directly. It is a great question. It came directly from my coming off my addiction to narcotics. So when I got clean, I needed guidance, and I never really had like a father figure or really a good male figure in my life. So a lot of people recommended this book, and I have kind of an absolutist mindset. So this book came into play.
Okay, hold it. Yeah. Slow down. So I don't understand absolutist mindset. Explain it to me real quick.
Yeah. So an absolutist mindset is like, I tend to think, and this may be to a fault, I'm not saying it's right or wrong, I tend to think some things in life are very black and very white, and I can understand people better who speak to me in that tone. And Sun Tzu wrote this book in a very black and white manner, and that's why I was able to understand it much better.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
And so okay, I'm trying to walk this through my mind. So John gets interested in this material, and I guess I'm trying to figure out, like, what was the Art of War? Was the war that you were trying to figure out with yourself? Was it like, hey, I'm about to get into this war of life, and I need to prepare myself mentally for what it was? Like, am I missing some tools that I'm trying to add on? Am I trying to get within an industry and I'm mentally preparing myself? Like, I guess that's where I was getting to, because if I read The Art of War right now, my intention, and I'm actually interested, when I leave here, I'm going to either Barnes and Nobles, or I'm going to just, I'm telling your shit, John. So my intention would be, hey, let me walk in here. But I would be categorizing or taking this thing all in regards to how I do business within the industry that I'm in. And it will be looked at or viewed through that eye. And I guess I was talking about the intention of it because, I think it's important to have context or
Sure.
to have reason why a person is picking up information. Like if a person somewhere, you know, I think you gain more. Like, you know, if I go to the gym and I'm just like fucking lifting weights, it doesn't mean nothing. But
Right.
if I have goals and intentions, you know, I guess that's where I was trying to get
Yeah,
to.
yeah, yeah. So as I'm cleaning my life up, I'm realizing it's almost, you know what it's like, Maurice, when you clean your life up, it's like a rebirth. It's like someone hit a pause button on you when you were addicted, and then when you get off it, it's like someone unpauses you. So when I was unpaused,
I never heard it that way. That's a cool way to frame it up, Johnny.
yeah, that's how I felt it.
That's the truth.
Yeah. When I was unpaused, so to speak, I had all these feelings. Like I knew I had sales skill. I knew I had negotiation skill. I knew I had transacting skill. I knew I had business skill, but I didn't have a framework of strategy on how to pull it all together and how to make it all work and how to optimize my mental capacity. And through searching the art of war, I kept seeing over and over again. And when I picked it up, I knew immediately it was for me because I can relate personally to a mindset of kill or be killed, probably because of how I grew up. And when someone can speak about kill or be killed, but can also be eloquent enough to say, listen, it's not about killing, it's about being prepared to protect whatever it is you're protecting. And if the event arises when that horrible action needs to happen, either literally or metaphorically, here are the strategies that you live by and you follow if that arises. And guys, I want to be clear. I'm not talking about literally killing. I'm talking about killing it in business or killing it in strategy or all these things. So that was the root of it, Maurice. And I gotta say, not only was I pleasantly surprised, but it changed my life reading that book.
Well, it's great to even hear you say that because Corey, it's kind of funny to hear him say that, but it's there's teachable moments in all that stuff because the book that I'm about to talk about from a great thinker, James Allen, my attraction to it was kind of similar how John's attraction came to his book. I was initially in prison, or I was in a county jail, and this was probably 2006, maybe August of 2006, and I was incarcerated and I was locked down for 23 hours out the day. You know, you got 20 minutes to shower, 20 minutes to use the telephone, and 20 minutes to work out inside of another cell. And they gave me there was a gentleman by the name of Adam Preston who gave me a book called As a Man Thinketh by James Allen. And like John, I'm coming off of drugs. I'm trying to find myself. I'm trying to figure out things. And James Allen actually wrote in that real black and white way. And when you were saying this, I was like, wow. You know, even when I told you this was the book that I liked or impacted me, I didn't realize how you came to that understanding or that attraction of that book. But that's sort of how As a Man Thinketh was brought to me. But it's real black and white, very simple. And my reason for reading it was to understand how to use my mind. It says, so it was called As a Man Thinketh. And if you dig into it, it really talks about the operation of thought and thoughts being things and understanding. That's where I take that saying from. You know, thought takes shape on all forms. Nothing intelligent shall happen until thought and purpose is linked together. Nothing changes but circumstances. Nothing changes but circumstance and opportunity. The character of a man should be revealed up under every condition. And just great thoughts or great philosophical points that he had made. It really created framework for me, just understanding who I was, understanding how my thoughts work. I think that's a real big part why I'm attracted to Earl Nightingale, because he pulls a lot from As a Man Thinketh, and it really talks just about the origin of thought and your thoughts mechanically, how they work. You know, like cognition of thought. You know, and I think to me, It's one of the greatest and most simple books that's written. And John, I know before we got on the phone and we spoke about it, maybe before we got on the phone, before we got on the podcast and we were on the phone, you were talking about how thoughts haven't evolved and how things and the things that we have in life and how technology took away from that. But, it would be fun to imagine what the world would be if people began to develop more of that thought and more of just evolving the critical thinking skills, or having platforms and spaces and places where critical thinking and analyzing how we think and being more articulate with our words I understand what space that you were talking about that we wish that could have gotten developed, because right now I want to go read right now because I feel like I want to fill up my
Maurice, you think because when I heard your mom and Tress and the other people talk about you on the 30 for 30 about how you were always a thinker. Obviously, it got clouded for a period of time from the abuse of whatever was happening. Is it like you were like yearning for something to put you back, like right? Is that kind of
Man,
right?
I'm telling you, this is just human. You hear John when John said, "Hey, I knew I had sales skills. I knew I had people skills. I knew I had all this stuff." But oftentimes it becomes frustrating to an individual when you don't realize where to put these things at, or you don't know how to apply them. It's just like the guy who goes to college and he's accumulated 5 master's degrees and fucking 40 bachelors, but he doesn't know how to apply this information. That will become frustrating, and he can get addicted to drugs and alcohol just from being frustrated with not knowing how to know what to do. And so I had a tremendous amount of ambition, and I was always just curious into analyzing and thinking, and I enjoyed it. But one, I didn't know how to apply it, and two, I didn't know where to place these thoughts at. And books, believe it or not, and I think that technology has robbed us away from believing in books and really, I think educating ourselves, when we think about it in the aspect of school, we hate it.
Yeah.
Because it's real like 1980s and 70s, and go get you a job for 30 years and learn these skills,
or be forced to learn something you don't give a fuck about. That's what I think.
Or be forced to learn something that you don't care about. So you categorize educating yourself, or you identify. You don't distinguish. I'll say this: you don't distinguish the difference between educating yourself and learning. And I think that's like a big deal. And when I was in prison and I had a chance to sit down, I was learning about things that I was interested in. And then after that, I was like, oh shit, I can use this mind to move myself. I can move the world. I can put things together. I can think this thing that, this energy that I had. And so just like John.
Yeah, Mo, can I ask you a question real quick? Just based on what you just said, because I didn't mean to cut you off. But basically, how I kind of explained, I needed framework. What did you feel inherently that you had, like your gifts, right? Like that you had to give that James Allen or Nightingale or these other great authors that you're sharing with the listeners that they helped you develop on how to execute on? What were those skills?
Yeah. No, so it was a feeling. So even if you was around me long enough, you're either gonna get two things. You say, man, this guy's either real confident or real arrogant. It depends on how you're feeling, right? So I've always had a confidence that I was supposed to be great at something. And I just didn't know what information would take me to where I obviously wanted to go, if that makes any sense.
Mm-hmm.
So I knew that I had potential. I knew that I had ambition. I knew that I was supposed to be great. I knew drinking, drugging, thugging in the streets and hustling, that wasn't my life. But I knew I was doing that out of circumstance, but that just wasn't it. So the intention of going to grab these books and to read them and to put them inside of me, it was like, I need to tap into something. And as I begin to tap in and identify, like a lot of times we don't have the words for what we're skilled at. Like I didn't even know what a skill set was. Like everybody's has skill sets, or we hear skill set, but I didn't understand what a skill set was. I didn't understand that I may be good at selling something. I didn't understand that I had interpersonal skills. I didn't understand that, I was great with follow through. I didn't understand so many things that I was good at because I didn't have the words for them. But I knew that there was an energy inside of me that had to be expressed in different forms. You know what I'm saying? And just like anything else, like podcasts didn't exist 10 years ago, but just developing yourself and you becoming more of who you're supposed to be becoming and reading, like you say, just thought stopping or technology being a big thing, we've not continued to develop our thoughts. And so we don't develop as people, and we develop from a physical standpoint, and that can become frustrating in itself. And so when I began to read, I began to unfold and think about myself and think about my thoughts and think about what I was thinking about. And then like the world became colorful. I began to like different music. I began to like different people. I began to become softer because I said, okay, this is all of Maurice Clarett because this is what I'm like really feeling. You know what I'm saying? That's why I could say like, hey, I listen to Elton John because I like Elton John. I like his music. And oh shit, I grew up from Youngstown. I'm not supposed to say that. That's like my ego fighting myself. You know what I'm saying? And but this is who you are. You read, you develop yourself, you unravel, you unfold, you dig deeper into who you're supposed to become, and that's what it was doing. But it was helping me. It was basically, it was like shaping that energy, and the things that I naturally liked in life. I was able to put words on. I was able just to do more. And I know that sounds like very vague, but I'm telling you. I think everybody inherently has something inside of them where they feel like, hey, man, I'm fucking supposed to be great at something. And it's my personal belief that information is found inside of a book. In some way, and a book is nothing more than a conversation, or it's a platform
it's the
where somebody.
Of it, though, right, Maurice? You say you feel that inside.
Yes.
We have to pursue that. Like most people are sitting listening, saying, "Yeah,
it didn't come to you. Y'all were both looking for it.
Yeah, it's the pursuit of it. So if you're listening, saying, "I think I have something great inside," I don't know what it is. If you just listen to two guys on this podcast, we're two guys who were shaped by specific books. Sure, they may be a combo of books, but we were searching to find out how to harness that energy, and luckily, we found tools in books to harness that energy. And Core, I know you have some people that you look up to that have helped shape you, and I'd love to hear you talk a little bit about the books you love, the people you look up to, and such.
Yeah, for sure. I think it was I really enjoyed both of your guys' perspectives. They're a lot alike, which is cool. And I think that similar to Reese, and here's what's funny about me. I don't really know where it came from, other than I think that was part of my strategy of getting up out of kind of my situation as a kid. I used to tell myself all the time I was meant to do big things. I can't remember when that happened. I knew it wasn't sports related because I was a halfway decent athlete, but I wasn't Mr. Football in Ohio, fucking Mo. But I was like, I just remember telling myself like, I'm meant to do big things. I'm meant to do big things. Like I know that this situation ain't for me long term. I know, and so I kept like that self-talk started kind of young, and then it's going to be, you guys are going to laugh. My first book I ever read was the Fab Five.
Oh, man. I think everybody loved the Fab Five.
Yeah, right? So listen,
everybody.
I graduated in 97. The Fab Five was it, bro. Like, I'm an Ohio kid, but the confidence that Jalen Rose had, the confidence that Chris Webber had, I was drawn to it. I was drawn that they were like, nah, fuck it, I'm wearing black socks. My pants are big. Like, they just brought it as freshmen, young kids, bringing it, right? For some reason, and I think there was a lot of people, I was drawn to it. I went and got the book. I read it, and I think it elevated not only like my sense of where I wanted my style to be, but where I wanted my, which wasn't even a word at that time, but swag or confidence to be. And it was like I identified it like to a high level. So whenever I read through that book, and so I felt like I had this confidence. I felt like I had all these ideas of what I wanted to do with myself. And then I came across two books first before the third that I'm going to speak about. Rich Dad Poor Dad, I think at 20 years old I got a hold of, and that just taught me how things operate, whether I'm an employee, self-employed person, an investor, and a business owner. And I think that framed up a lot of that. But I had to figure out, like Reese talked about, and you, John, both, about kind of guiding my thoughts properly. So when I came on to Think and Grow Rich, it started to teach me how to intentionally think. But that wasn't even enough, right? So I understood how business works from a basic level.
Who wrote that quote for the listener?
So Rich Dad Poor Dad is Robert Kiyosaki, and then Think and Grow Rich is by Napoleon Hill. So those two led me down this path of, all right, this is how business works. I understand what part of the quadrant that I want to fall in, from employee, self-employed, a business owner, investor.
Did you just
right?
say, Corey Gregory, did you just say quadrant to me?
I did say quadrant. And
you guys, to us, I'm sorry.
Yes.
I'm proud of you. I'm proud of you.
Yes, it is. Sorry. It is exactly what it is. And I think if you guys
good.
don't understand how money moves, liability, and assets, you should absolutely go read Rich Dad Poor Dad. That's not the one I'm going to go in deep on, but you should read that, right? The second one being Think and Grow Rich, it had my brain like teaching it how to operate on a regular basis, and just the way that my thoughts could guide where I truly wanted to be. All right, so I kind of set the tone for those two. When I came across the wisdom of Andrew Carnegie that was told by Napoleon Hill, who wrote Think and Grow Rich, that changed everything for me. And I'll tell you the reason why. I had these aspirations. I believe I had confidence in myself. So basically, when I came across the wisdom of Andrew Carnegie as told by Napoleon Hill, I needed a daily, monthly, weekly, everything strategy. And this book literally led me chapter by chapter. It literally is like my business Bible on how to really narrow down what my true definitive purpose was, like the definitive thing I was after long term, like narrow it down to where every day into this day that the burning desire is so deep. That's why people always like, why aren't you tired? I'm not fucking tired, you guys. I'm not tired because of that. Like, because it runs so deep. And then how to use it's called develop an attractive personality, like how to utilize the tools I was born with, the way I was brought up to attract, and the way to go the extra mile for people. Like it was written like in the 1920s, everybody. It's so relevant. And it led me through 17 or 18 true principles that I could follow literally every day. And it changed everything for me. Everything. Yeah. It changed everything.
No, Corey, I'm telling you, excuse me, probably after As a Man Thinketh, when you gave me the Andrew Carnegie book, As Told Napoleon Hill, and when I read that did more than impact my brain. And I think one of the biggest things that people struggle with, and this is just my personal opinion, and just from going to many universities and talking to people and kids, that I think that was valuable from the Andrew Carnegie book and Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill. And I'll have you can explain the context of both, once I'm done. But one of the things that it does is that it gives action steps to people. And I think that, you can go to Barnes and Noble today, this is 2018, and you can go grab something off the shelf and it'll have a cool and amazing title, and it'll have a bunch of cool information and a bunch of great sayings. But when it comes to action steps and stuff that you can implement in your life, that you can see measurable changes, I think that's where things fall off. I think you could say the same thing with go grab your favorite motivational speaker. Mm-hmm. And if you slow down the tape or if you listen to the words, these guys are just hyping you up and not really giving you direction. Right. You know what I'm saying?
There's no action.
There's no action. Oh, fight through it, persevere. Right. Your leg hurts.
How, motherfucker? How the fuck am I going to do it? You just because you can yell really loud doesn't mean I can do it. Tell me how the fuck to do it.
Yep.
Yeah. So listeners, totally off subject, but on subject. Don't be influenced by a book's title. Be influenced by the content. Yeah. Be influenced by the things that you can grab and take and apply to your life. And I think that what John is saying in regards to the art of war, I think what I'm saying in regards to As a Man Thinketh, I think what Corey's saying with the series of books that he wrote, it was things that you can take and apply that would bring measurable changes to your life. And that's why you are attracted to that information. That's what I'm hearing, basically. And I'll just pass it back to you, my fault.
Well, no, you're not your fault.
I want to say something real quick, Cora,
Go ahead, John.
what he just said is that, what he said to the listener, because I love the message, but I think herein lies the problem, and I don't know the right advice to give. That's why I open it up to the three of us, because the listener should immediately look to the content, the most valuable content, but before they can get to the content, they have to look at the shiny cover and this or that. And what we're trying to do, okay, listener, is provide you with guidance on, hey, maybe you should check this out online or go to the bookstore and pick up this book. But I think in today's society, the way things are marketed, the way things are packaged, Mo, it's really hard for, young people who are hearing the names of these books for the first time, who live on Instagram, Twitter, etc., to get to a book that has like a green cover with some words.
It's not even cool.
Right.
It's not cool. Listen, the one I'm telling you about ain't fucking cool. It don't look cool.
No.
Like it looks bootleg as shit. But,
let's redefine cool. Cool is not what everyone else is doing. Cool is something that is effective and something that works. And I'll open it back up to you guys, but I just wanted to say that.
Well, I'm gonna look at it like this. Like I look at down through these chapters, right? I might just happen to have one with me, and I look at you're looking at from chapter 7, cultivate creative vision. Number 8, exercise self-discipline. Number 9, organizing your thinking. And number 10, learn from defeat. Like, dude, that's four and 5 bangers in a row that you can learn truly applicable stuff from a guy that was the wealthiest person in his time. I mean, he was unbelievable. Came from Scotland with nothing and built one of the people that built our country. And he's telling you that these things are how he would work through his day and the way he made decisions. It's priceless information.
Cor, what I love about what you just said, you brought up obviously his financial stature, but people, you have to understand that the mindset and the things Corey just went over, the practical steps and the way this man lived, the strategy, that came first. That came before the money. That created the wealth. That created the legacy that is Andrew Carnegie. The money didn't create that. The money came because of these principles that we're trying to share with you. And I just wanted to share that. Go ahead, Mo.
I'll tell you, and I wanted to dig into this. I don't know if Corey was going to, but I'll just do it because this would impacted me. So one, Andrew Carnegie was from Scotland, came over here, and the beauty I loved about this man was that he had an imagination, and he really got rich from repurposing steel. Steel was being sold at, I think it was like $120 an ounce. Or whatever it was, and he was like, hey, we can sell this stuff at $40, but we can also create multiple uses out of it, and everybody was mad at him and like, no, fuck you, motherfucker, you gonna fuck up the industry, but he still went with his imagination and what he saw and had vision and basically became the wealthiest man. He ended up grabbing Napoleon Hill, and Napoleon Hill was just a fucking reporter. Yep. And he told Napoleon Hill, like, yo, how about you come hang out with me, motherfucker, and let me teach you the game. And so the original book, it was The Philosophy of American Achievement. He said, we have a philosophy for everything else in America, but we just don't have a basic philosophy for American achievement. So he said, look, dude, I know the most successful motherfuckers. I know the Wrigley brothers. I know Fords. I know all of these guys. How about you just dedicate 25 years of your life? I give you basically like a minimal means to do so, but I'll basically make you an introduction to all these guys. So Napoleon Hill, which he has done greatly for mankind, and anybody who has touched that book, he sacrificed 20 years of his life going, meeting, sitting down, talking, and figuring out from the most successful people, the men who have built America, like outside of everything else, outside of like your skills and all this other shit that you've done, like what inherently, what are the principles that make people successful in America? after that, Think and Grow Rich was birthed. And those things inside of Think and Grow Rich are nothing more than a collection of thoughts from the most successful people who have built the country that everybody is fucking sitting on their ass in right now and listening to this podcast. The country that was built, the foundation, he was able to sit down and talk with these men and have countless amounts of hours where he basically, just like anything else, you kind of like, siphon through, and he found the core principles that made people successful that you could apply to your everyday living. And for me, that was like the greatest thing. Like, wow, for this guy to be able to do that, and for these to be the most successful people, and for these to be the principles, and for me to take these things and apply them and to see the results directly, it had to be some of the most impactful information that I've read, and that basically helps to still govern me to this day. But I just wanted to give that context to a listener, like, so if they're out there like, who the fuck is Andrew Carnegie and who is Napoleon Hill?
Yeah.
These were just phenomenal thinkers and researchers and people who impacted our lives today.
I guarantee Andrew Carnegie said it just like that. Look, dude, sit your ass down here and go ahead and start taking notes for 20 years.
Yeah, but I tell you this, Corey, too. Yeah. I really, and this is just a personal thing, and I have to mention this. When he left or when he died, a large portion of his wealth was put to build libraries.
Yeah, I went to the first one before, Reese.
So here we go. The reason I'm more of a fan with him, in the time in which he died, he said, fuck you, motherfucker. This is for Black, white, Puerto Rican, Asian, whoever wants to come in these fucking libraries. Because he said the advantage for the man is in the library. It's nowhere else. It's not in my homeboy. Hey, John, can you hook me up with such and such? Fuck that. Go to the library, get you a fucking book, go learn some shit, and then apply what you know. And so for me, obviously I'm the only Black dude on this podcast, so I had and it's Black History Month, so I can still answer that shit. No, but on a serious note,
there's got to be a joke there: 2 Italians and a Black dude. I don't know.
Yeah. So, but just to for him to for a dude to say that in that time. This is for everybody. When you had that much segregation amongst people and that much hatred and all of that, I'm not going to give this money up, or I'm not going to allow you to inherit it if you basically shut out different people of different races. That was significant to me in reading that. I was like, oh, so this had to be a fucking decent dude. You know what I'm saying? To not give a shit about culture and race and fucking.
He was an immigrant. He's an immigrant too, Reese. I mean, he wasn't, what is American at this point? It's Native American. They were here.
Yes.
I mean, he came from Scotland with nothing. What I loved about Andrew Carnegie is the way he gave away his money was he even talked about in the book, even with the way he dealt with employees, that he felt that it was a disservice if he overpaid them because they didn't know how to actually operate with the money. He thought it did, if he would have gave X amount of million to this uncle or that, and if they didn't have the skill set to actually handle the money, he thought it made their life worse. So, and it does, agree. But he was on this tip forever ago, bro. That's what's so crazy. That's when I read the stuff, and it's still so, relevant today. If any of you guys that have read the Mindset Manual or just heard me talk for a long time, this is where most of my stuff is based at. I gave Jeremy the book the other day, and he was like, "Gee, I can hear you through these pages. This was crazy impactful on you." I'm like, "Look, this is literally how I've lived my life since I've read."
Well, yeah, I'm gonna throw out the kind of the thesis that we were talking about before we started recording.
Right. It's halftime. Hey, yo, it's halftime.
All right, Johnny. All right, Reese, it's halftime. Look, we got to go over these amazing sponsors that we got here at Business and Biceps. First, John, tell me why you love Robin Hood.
I love Robin Hood because he stole from the rich and he gave to the poor. That's why I love it. No, I'm kidding. Robin Hood is the best, easiest, cleanest trading app. Go to the App Store right now. Download Robinhood and educate yourself on the market so you can share in the wealth that is being made by almost every American that is participating in the financial system. Guys, this is the cleanest app, okay? It will educate you, and there is no fees. We hate fees. There is
We hate
no
fees.
trading fees. I cannot tell you from trading for a long time how much they can add up to. They can add up to thousands of dollars a year. Robinhood does not charge you fees. And Corey Gregory, I know you know the URL our
I do.
listeners can go to redeem their free share of stock.
Well, I heard Maurice just ask me. He was like, Corey, how can I get that free share of stock? So Maurice, I'll tell you right now. You got to use the link biceps.robinhood.com to get your free share of stock of Apple, Ford, or Sprint. Obviously, you can go to the App Store and download Robinhood. And what I love about it is, look, I'm not a big-time investor like John Fosco or Warren Buffett. Yes, I said them together.
Do not never say them together again. Never do that again. My God.
Anyway, but I like to put just a couple G in there and mess around, and it's been fun because I feel like I can get in and out of stocks without paying the fees, and so I really love Robinhood. And I think the fact that with our young, hungry listenership that they give a free share of stocks so you guys can practice, I think is unbelievable. And then, right before we got on the air, Maurice was asking me like, gee, what's up with the mushroom coffee mix? And I was like, this stuff tastes amazing. It doesn't give you any jitters. Like, Johnny, talk to me about what you love about Four Sigmatic.
No, I just want to
you're in love with it.
Yeah, no, I just want to clarify one thing real quick. You said Maurice asked you about your mushroom before you got on the air?
Oh! It went dead. It was reset.
No.
Mushroom coffee mix.
Yeah, no.
Mushroom coffee mix.
Absolutely. So we talk about differentiators in business all the time, guys. And when Four Sigmatic puts together a blend of mushroom coffee, it is an absolute differentiator between them and their competition. And I am not a coffee drinker, but I drink their mushroom blend because it tastes amazing, and it literally gives me like positive, healthy energy. It doesn't make me over jittery. It just gets me focused, and it tastes amazing. So the combination of mushroom and coffee, I cannot recommend enough. You can get it at FOURSIGMATIC.com. And Corey, how do our listeners save money on the best coffee on the planet?
Yes, it's a backslash off that URL, BIZ-BIS15. So foursigmatic.com, which you just spelled out, John, /BIZ-BIS15. It gives you a discount applied automatically 15%. And lastly, John, it's our baby, maxstepformuscle.com. Why should they build a stack, John? Why should they build a stack and get a free t-shirt today?
Oh, my goodness. First off, it comes in a burlap bag, and you tell me if you have any other company that you know of that delivers to your door in a burlap sack of a beautiful, strong man with amazing products in his sack. And now we are getting ready to launch the Ronda Rousey branded line of Max Effort Muscle Supplements. What does that mean? That means when you are buying your XL stack, getting a discount, getting your free t-shirt, getting your burlap sack, that means that you can also buy an XL stack for your girl. She will appreciate it because her stomach will get flatter, her muscles will get more toned, and you will be swole mates. I think that's a beautiful thing, Corey.
I think it is too. Make sure you guys check out maxeffortmuscle.com and what John was talking about. Any 3 products and a free t-shirt for $100, or any 5 products and a free t-shirt for $160. We'd love to have you guys try the product. Hey, Johnny, I think halftime is over. Let's go back to the show.
Let's do it.
It's halftime. Hey, yo, it's halftime.
And that was, I was thinking about it last night, man, just looking at athletes, looking at people, looking at, photos from 300 years ago of people. If you look at how the body has evolved over the past 1,000 years, even over the past 100 years, from height to muscle mass to all these things that even before working out or even before food, they've just simply evolved. And then you look at the human mind, right? And then side by side them and say, has the human mind evolved at the same pace as the human body? Now my take is absolutely not, because there are so many more distractions in today's society that take us away from people like Andrew Carnegie, Confucius, Sun Tzu, all these people who basically, because of the time they lived in, were forced to live a simple life that was free of things. So they literally got so deep that they were able to write texts that survive over thousands of years, right? I mean, nowadays we're just too distracted, and I want to hand the ball to you guys on this, because it's just something that is my opinion, but I think it's an interesting topic for the listeners.
Shit, I'm into it and I'm distracted. Like
the
world's distracted. I mean, I'm into this stuff and I'm distracted. I have to fight against it. Go ahead, Reese.
Yeah, no. When you were saying that, the first thing that came to my mind was microwave mentality, and straight up, like, motherfuckers got microwave mentalities, and everything is on the instant program. Like, I instantly need this, or I instantly need that, or it's to, if fuck you look on the internet, look everywhere. It's to get rich quick, like have success quick, And I think the process of chasing things and how you attain things, because things obviously dominate a large part of our society. I think that the need or the want to develop your mind to add to a different quality of living, or just how a life should be lived in a healthier space or a more thoughtful way, I think that it gets missed right there. And just like with Corey, sometimes you get so busy, and you yourself, knowing that you should be reading and knowing that you should be developing, you often miss it. I know I miss it, and you take it. And as you were saying this too, I got like 50 thoughts when you were just saying that ran through my mind. And obviously I'm in this room and I'm looking at all these fucking max effort bags on the wall, right? And I'm looking at this, and this guy has this old ass kettlebell, looks like, and he's actually lifting physically. He's lifting the weight, and I was like, wow, the physical weight that has been lifted and the work it puts in, that has never changed over a period of time. And it used to be reading, like in the reading you were doing, you were mentally lifting pages and mentally going through the process of digging through information and finding information and developing yourself, and the rigor behind doing that and the diligence behind doing that. That's what like made you. And then I'm thinking about Buffett, and Buffett was like, yo, I get up and I fucking read every day, and look at Buffett's life. And I remember I went down to Asheville, North Carolina, and I went to the Biltmore. And if anybody has ever been to the Biltmore, or if they know what the Biltmore is that, if you've ever seen it, you've probably seen people go and had weddings there. This house is probably 100,000 square feet or so. The biggest and most vast house that I've ever seen in my life. And you can take pictures in there, but even if you try to take a picture, like, the picture couldn't capture the amount of the feeling that you get when you just walk around this place. But on the left wing of the house, when I went over there, this man had a library that was probably like 15,000 square feet. And they said that, and they said that he would come there, and the Vanderbilt guy, he would come there and he would just sit and read for hours and hours and hours and hours. And like, if you got fucking common sense, you would see like, wow, like some of the most successful people of our times, these people have sat and read and applied obviously of what they've read. But that used to be it, and that's lost. And even if you hear about some of the people now, the most competitive people in the world, if you sit down, if you look at Ray Dalio stuff, if you look at just people who are very, very, very successful, I'm not talking about, the motherfucker who just has the cool shit on Instagram. I'm talking about like massively successful people. And if you had a chance to chat with them, I had a chance to chat with Lex Wexner. He said, I motor through a book every week. Period. And his wife was like, yo, she's like, one thing that Les loves, he loves technology, but he loves books. And you know what I'm saying? But Les, he's the fucking guy of the world. He, your woman probably has Les Wexner panties on, Victoria's Secret, and all
He got
that
a
shit.
400-foot yacht, motherfucker.
Yeah, he got 400 foot. Yeah. Super successful guy. But as you were as you were saying this, John, my mind was just firing off with stuff of just super successful people, and those people have not.
They have not let go of these great thinkers. That's what I'm saying.
No,
It lives in them, and it's like when you look at. I think what's great about this episode is we're sharing names that are beyond epic. These are the shapers of culture and policy and everything. And we brought up Confucius earlier, but Confucius is a man who lived in 500 BC, and to this day has a school of thought with temples and libraries all over the world, called Neo-Confucianism. And I can't give it all to you right now, but I just want to give you kind of a little picture into some of the way this man thought. So I'll hit you with a couple quotes, right? I mean, to be wronged is nothing unless you continue to remember it. I mean, I could go on that for fucking 2 hours. That to me is wisdom at its most basic level. Okay, I hear and I forget. I see and I remember. I do and I understand. Okay, this guy literally, everything that came out of his mouth shaped the way Chinese culture at that time moved, and it shaped presence. Right, real knowledge is to know the extent of your ignorance.
Like it, John, dropping it, boy.
Real knowledge is to know the extent of your ignorance.
Life is really simple, but we insist on making it complicated.
I believe that. 100%.
It's just like these are people, guys, if you're not familiar with them, I don't care if you go and buy a 20-page easy flip-through book, get familiar with them, because if nothing else, one quote or one page can open your mind to things you've just never thought about. And the beauty of somebody like Confucius is he will live as long as the earth lives, because his shit is rooted, like Maurice said, not in things, but rather in thought and in people, in how you operate. And this stuff is just so
well. It's out of sight, out of mind, too, John. I think if you're searching for it, or you have an intention of, like we talked about, we all miss it from day to day, right? But we want to use it. We want to read it. We want to learn. Like, if you're just a curious mind of Confucius, what's the Sun Tzu? How you say his name? Sun Tzu, Carnegie, Vanderbilt. Like, if you're just curious in searching for the information, like, you're gonna stumble upon, probably, because when you search it, eventually you're gonna figure it out and find it, kind of like I did. I didn't know when I picked that book up that I was like, ding, 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 ding.
But
like,
you didn't have business and biceps to guide you, like our listeners have us.
That's what I'm saying. So I think that, that'll be great is at the end we can make sure that everybody knows exactly the hit list, and Jeremy can put it on Instagram too, of what they should go out and get. I'll tell you another book that's pretty awesome. It's called The Mind of Maurice Claret. What do you think about that one, Mo?
Oh, shit.
I told you got to bring one for John. You got to sign one and bring one for John.
I'm going to sign one and bring one for John. Yeah, sure will.
The thoughts of Maurice, he refers to it a lot of when he was incarcerated. But when you break down, this was my perception, right, Reese, is that the thoughts that you were having of just being with your daughter and freedom and the most basic, bare bones, pure thoughts that you were writing on that paper. Dude, I had to be therapeutic for you, or I know you were speaking them to Ashley and she was writing them on your blog at that time. But that, to me, it put a lot of stuff in perspective, because it's easy to get out of perspective. We talked about it a few times, but your book did a lot for me from that standpoint. And I think anybody that takes a chance to read it would really enjoy it.
Yeah, no, it was birthed out of a lot of things. I think the more you read, the more you want to talk. Mm-hmm. I think the more you read, the more you like to exchange thought. And right. You have what's up?
I said right. I'm just nodding my head.
Yeah, on my phone. And you have You just have this desire because you've picked up new words and new perspective, and you got these new thoughts that you just want to communicate, or you have a different level of consciousness on events that have taken place in your life, and you're growing. Whatever thing that is inside your body, your being, you grow the more you read, or the more you read. Sound and helpful and prosperous material. And that's what I was doing. And when I was going through that, obviously with that much isolation, and we're locked down for 20 hours out the day. So from 2006 to 10, you're in a cell or in a housing unit for 20 hours out your day. And so oftentimes you just say, hey, where can I put these thoughts? And I will put them on paper. And therapeutic just what that was just part of it, but it was more so I was respecting the craftsmanship and intellectual thought behind guys sitting down and putting books together. And it was my intention to, like, it's still my intention to want to write more books. I want to, if I got two goals in my life. I want to own a coffee shop and I want to fucking write books, right? Sounds crazy, but I would really enjoy just to sit down and organize my thoughts and put something on paper to where I can deliver it to people, but all with the inspiration or the hope of helping other people based upon things that I've experienced, my perspective from those things, and how they've helped me to grow. And I think that, nothing more, nothing less, like that's all we're offering on this podcast and this platform. This is the shit I've been through. This is how it's helped me. This is how I grow. These are different insights to different parts of our lives. And we're just trying to give it. But I also think that from a listening standpoint, because I can kind of see what guys hit me up on Instagram or Twitter, you can kind of see where they're at in their lives or or why they may be tuning in. You know what I'm saying? And, that book was just that, man, and I put thoughts together, and it helped me to look forward to something every day. And the irony of it is that when I go back and I look at it, I was like, fuck, I was just like super dowdy and super focused. But it's also kind of spooky to me how I didn't realize that I was writing my future. Like some of the things that I'm doing now, if you go back and look into that information, or the ways that I'm living now, they originally started from there. Like the seed was planted, the things were wrote on paper, and the things that I'm doing now, like I'm actually doing it. So that's why sometimes I may not seem surprised, because I planted that thought somewhere else in my head that I would be successful one day and I would do business one day. And all of that work, or some of the stuff that you're seeing now, or that people are seeing now, is a manifestation of thoughts that were basically planted, back in 2006, 7, 8, 9, and 10. And they just starting to take headway or starting to grow.
I got a couple for you, Johnny. You ready for this?
Yeah.
A rudderless ship and a purposeless man are eventually stranded on a desert sand. That was one from him saying basically you don't have your definite purpose. You don't have anywhere you're steering your ship.
Sure.
He also I believe he was friends with Thomas Edison. He said Edison failed, and I think a lot of people have heard this, but Edison failed 10,000 times before he perfected the incandescent electric lamp. The average man would have quit after the first failure, which explains why there are so many average men, but one of them is not Edison.
Right.
And then lastly, he said, no man is a free man until he learns to do his own thinking and gains the courage to act on his own personal initiative.
Oh. So those are epic quotes, and I actually wanted I wanted to go in a direction, and his own thinking kind of steers me this way that I want to share with you guys. Are either of you guys familiar with what a Ronin is?
I'm not.
Nope.
Okay. So a Ronin is a soldier or a warrior that has no master, and his belief is that if I have a master or a master teacher, then I will not develop my own thoughts on warfare and the mindset of warfare. So they just they're like wanderers. They learn from someone, then they learn from another person, and they wander until they die. And, we talked about, at least pre-show, Miyamoto Musashi. He lived in like the late 1500s. He was the greatest samurai swordsman the planet has ever seen. And he's written two very well-known books, the Book of Five Rings and the school of Nitin Ryu, which is basically he invented double swordsmanship. Anyways, he was a Ronin, and he would travel all throughout Asia to challenge the best swordsmen in samurai culture. And he had 61 duels. He was 61-0. His first was at 13 years old. And to live a life like that, he explains in not so many words that you can never go on and accept death like he did, and be willing to grow like he did if you don't always want to develop yourself. It's not about winning the duel. It's not about winning the battle. It's about developing yourself and fulfilling whatever it is you are. And if you stick too much, right, to one thought process, you're actually cheating yourself. And the one thing that will allow you to not cheat yourself is experiences that you can't even visualize until you move on in life. So it's kind of contradictory to what we spoke about earlier as we use guides, but I don't know if it's as much contradictory as it is, hey, here's a school of thought, here's a school of thought. But I just think it's very interesting that Ronins were looked upon as these kind of mysterious characters, but the most famous samurai warrior of all explained why he did it in an eloquent way in these books. And he was the most dangerous, fierce warrior ever, and he was also a philosopher. And I just felt that.
So did he kill 61? Did he kill 61 people? Is that how you won?
So he killed a lot more than 61 people. So he was involved in wars, but he had 61 duels. So he would go to like Kyoto, Japan, and Osaka, and he would straight up say, okay, what's up? And it wasn't about being a badass. It was about like, I'm at peace with death. So I am going to go in and I'm going to find out if what I learned traveling across Asia actually works. That's all he cared about, is finding out if what he learned worked. And he had his first duel at the age of 13, and he wrote after it that the guy was like in his mid-20s and the guy was laughing. And he wrote a long chapter on how being underestimated, he came to understand, is one of the biggest advantages in life. And as a 13-year-old, he smoked this dude. And then he invented, when everyone else was using long staffs in samurai, that's what they did, long staffs with spears on the end. He had these two short blades, right? He wrote a book about it, how to use these two short blades. And he literally, Wu-Tang style, was slicing these fools up because they had never seen it. They had never seen it. This dude comes over the hill and he starts slicing you up with some short-ass knives. I mean, he's amazing.
It all comes back to the Wu-Tang.
Yeah, dude. Yeah, no, straight up. But Miyamoto Musashi, he wrote two great books. You know, people, I know Louis, Corey.
Louis lived his whole life over Musashi, bro. I got to read the book.
Yeah. It's just about accepting death at the cost of saying, I want to find out if what I learned is actually real. And I think that is so amazing to live like that.
Louis legitly operates like the last samurai of weightlifting. I swear to you. Like he doesn't go on vacation. He doesn't like he literally, that's how he based almost an entire life off that book. I'm almost positive. I've never read it. I need to read it because it's fucking supposed to be epic. Well, crazy.
Even when you talk about that, it brought a couple of thoughts. To one, I know that's how Socrates, he used a Socratic approach. He didn't go and actually do physical duels. They would go and they would have like verbal duels, and he would also he would go out and stand up the person who claimed to be the smartest in the village or the town, and they would have like a debate. And Socrates would, he would go and ask questions, and through his Socratic approach, make the people look like fools. But he was actually testing the knowledge. And his whole thing was that, hey, I'm not the smartest person in the world. You're claiming to be the smartest person in the world. And if I can make you, I don't want to say look stupid, but look stupid for lack of better terms, like I become that person. And eventually that's when they kicked his ass out there. It's like, hey, man, you're making the whole fucking town look stupid. And they boxed him out and they made my man drink the hemlock. And he ended up dying. Yeah,
They
that's
made my
They made my man
my
drink the
man drink the
hemlock.
hemlock.
Hey, that's the opening of this show. Jeremy, where you at? Get that shit.
yeah.
Get that shit.
It made my man drink the hemlock.
I love in our
Yeah.
own ways how we've talked about these people with our own fucking.
Yeah,
I love it.
Man, I mean, it's shit. It's what happened. You know what I mean?
I believe you.
But here we go. But I also was going to talk about what John was talking about, and I think another great thinker of our time. And I think his name is Dr. David Hawkins, and you know, a lot of people may not know, but he talks a lot about thought and kinesiology and metaphysics, and that was a bunch of information, and this is just for anybody. Like, you know, he talks about devotional non-duality and things not being good and bad, but things just being what they are. And so when you talk about a Ronin, I don't call what they were doing either better or worse than what somebody else may do. Is just everything is just is. You know what I mean? It just is. It's not good. It's not bad. Like one isn't better than the other one. This is just this guy's evolution. And who's to say that a guy who starts off like a Ronin doesn't end somewhere else? You know what I'm saying? Who's to say if you start off in this school of thought, you don't go to another school of thought? But like, you know, just like anything in business, you know, you start off one place and you end up somewhere else based upon the information that you've gathered or the experiences that you've gathered along the way. And I think that's important to even note or even notate. You don't have to choose one over another. You can experience something, and if it happens to be for you and work for you, and it gets you to your desired vision that you have in your life, I think that, you know, cool, keep rolling with it. You know, if it's humane and it helps you to develop, and, you know, you adding value to the world and you're living your dreams, you know, but, you know, that thought process isn't better than the next one. It's just all about, I think one of the biggest things, even as I'm hearing you talk, as everybody talks, you know, figuring out what information assists you in becoming a better you. Yeah. And
Go find it.
And here we go. Find it and develop it. Man, listen, I'm telling you, like, as you all saying this, I'm looking at this bag on the wall, and the bags on the wall just kind of like go so much with this, even though it's a guy lifting weights, the mental version of this, the mental weightlifting part is going to read books. It's that's the mental conditioning. Just the same way you do curls and squats and fucking hamstring raises and all that shit. The same way you do sprints. That's the physical conditioning, the refining of the body. And man, the only thing that you can do to better yourself is to have productive conversations, listen to productive podcasts like Business and Biceps, right? There we go. Mm-hmm. And subscribe, motherfucker. And
well, here's what I think is interesting, right? If I look at myself, I think back, graduating high school had a really bad, you know, negative connotation towards just school and learning and all that, because once again, I felt like I was being forced to learn some shit I didn't really care about. Obviously, we need to know how to read and write, and that goes without saying. But it's like, I was excited once I started searching this stuff out and how much I enjoyed it. And to think that 3 people that did not graduate college would be talking this much about education, self-education, like the difference it makes in your life if you find out and search for your, like, I would have never grasped that would have been this big a part of my life as an adult. Like having a lot, like I take pride on my library at my house, right? Like I take pride on that. I take pride in spreading, giving, like I have like 30 of these books in my house. I give them away all the time because I know it could be one chapter or one thought. And I think that the plethora, like that word, John Fosco, of books that we talked about today, it's going to impact somebody, no question. They're going to take from, you know, and we should run them all down, each one of us, I think, before we close it up, and Jeremy can put it out too, that this should be some, if you're listening right now, you love Business and Biceps, and you do not have where you can buy these books all used on Amazon.
All used.
And get all of them used. You could put this little library together, pretty inexpensive.
$50.
It could literally change your life as it's changed ours. And I guarantee, like Reese said, he's probably gonna go buy the book John talked about. And I got As a Man Thinketh. I'm about to reread that. Reese gonna get his book to, like, we're also learning off of each other, and there's gonna be points that we can grab, because guess what, everybody? you always keep learning.
Yeah.
What did Warren Buffett say? He's 4 hours a day. He's the richest cat on the
Yeah,
planet.
4 hours a day.
Wexner Wexner's so rich, they had to dig the channel out big enough down in Panama to make his boat go through it. Like, these dudes are still reading. Like, you guys should be reading.
But that's where I want to connect, right? Is that if anybody's thinking, oh, these guys just spent an hour talking about books and this is business and biceps. Guys, when you start self-educating yourself, okay, you give yourself the ability to be effective as a business person, because this show is rooted in that. So this stuff we're talking about, if you cannot draw a direct correlation to business, I understand what you're thinking. But what I would say to that is, this is the stuff that gives you the discipline and gives you the daily strategy and allows you to lean on something when something may not go perfectly, or you may be in a new circumstance that you've never experienced. These are constants, guys. These are things that are always there. So I would call this stuff foundational knowledge to be able to go on and be successful in business. So we break down business here in a very different way, but this stuff is just as important as any other entrepreneurial startup discussion there is. I would argue maybe more important.
Yeah, we're giving them homework, bro.
I would say it's more important. I think, John, I just wanted to distinguish something if they haven't distinguished. I think a lot of what school teaches you, it teaches you how to discipline yourself or get an acumen in regards to being employed by somebody, going to get employed by somebody, getting a job, and along the way is just rigorous courses or things that they feel that you may need. And so school inherently isn't a bad thing. And I think just having the ability to get through school, I think it just makes you a well-rounded person. I think self-education, though, is you articulating what it is that you want to develop as a person. And what I just heard you say, John, I think is 100% factual. Once you self-educate, you create things that you can lean on yourself personally. This is the development of the human being. This is development of you. School helps to develop like your profession. Like who you are and what you're going to, who you are and what you do are two different things. School develops the what do you do portion of you. The who you are, I think, is developed through self-education. That's just my personal opinion.
Yeah.
And the more you read and the more you build yourself up and the more you build your perspective and the more that you become humble. I think reading makes you humble too. You know, just from realizing how much you don't fucking know.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's the fucking truth.
Yeah. And once you like feel a calling, like, damn, I'm thirsting for knowledge. Dude, I can't do anything now, man. If the TV is turned on and something's on in the background, if there's something that's not bringing me knowledge that I don't already have, I'm not interested, right? I'm opening a book, I'm reading an article. It's like there's an inflection point in, I believe, successful people's lives where they all of a sudden go from, you know, doing the thing where they're hanging out with their friends all the time, fucking around, doing this and that, to saying, shit, I want to learn about that. Shit, I want to learn about this. And I want every listener to understand that everything we just spoke about, these were independent choices.
Yes.
The three of us made to better ourselves. We didn't know what it would yield. We didn't know the result. We just knew that we were hungry for knowledge and that if we took it in, possibly we could apply it and better ourselves. There will be an inflection point in your life, if it has not already happened, when this happens. And guys, let me tell you, that is where it's at. Embrace that and go deep.
Love it. John, you want to go ahead and recite 1, 2, 3, whatever, however many books you want. Hey, I look at it like this. Our listeners are about to build their Amazon used book library on the low right now, and we're going to riff a couple titles for them. So go ahead, John.
Sure. Yeah, no, I think if you want general spirit-based, people-based thinking, just look up Neo-Confucianism. You can literally find 100 different books written on his philosophy. Some people Okay, in Taoism, he's looked at as like a prophet. So Neo-Confucianism will educate you on the thoughts and the words of the man that survived, let's say, 2,500 years already, and he's still at top of mind as one of the best, one of the greatest philosophers ever. Okay, so look up a book on Neo-Confucianism. If you're talking about Sun Tzu, it's The Art of War. It's The Art of War. You're not going to find the 1,100-page version unless you go to a specialty bookstore. You'll probably find 200 to 300-page versions. You can find them anywhere. You can find them on Amazon. And the Book of Five Rings is Miyamoto Musashi's crowning achievement. And I would the other book he wrote is about the style of swordsmanship that he invented. But the Book of Five Rings and and The Way I Go Alone, which I have not read, are his two crowning achievements.
I'm buying both those mugs today, bro.
Yeah, that dude's a gangster.
Good, bro.
Yeah, well, my favorite book that I'm obviously going to mention to everybody is As a Man Thinketh by James Allen. I think that book has helped me tremendously, has impacted me tremendously, and I think that anybody who reads it will get some level or some sort of value. You can also, and this is one thing I love to do, you can also go grab an audiobook off of iTunes.
It's good on audio, too. I got it on audio.
Yeah, it's only an hour long, so you can listen to it from Earl Nightingale, or you can listen to it from anybody who literally does that. In regards to leadership, these are just I didn't talk about leadership anything, but I'm just giving a couple of my books. 21 Irrefutable Laws of Leadership by John Maxwell. I think that book has helped me out tremendously. I consistently read it, and I think that everybody, and every man, woman, whoever listens to this podcast, I think that everybody should understand and identify just leadership qualities, even if you don't apply them every day, all day, or you may be working for somebody and they may be in charge of you, and just to identify if they have the leadership skills and the skills to lead you, or that's the person that you should be following. I think that's beautiful. But another series of books, and I'll just keep it with three. Another series of books. This is by the guy, Dr. David Hawkins. The first book I read from him was Power versus Force. The second book I read was Transcending Levels of Consciousness. The third book I read was Truth versus Falsehood, Spirituality versus Devotional Non-Duality. That was some heavy information, and I think that information it really impacted my brain. I'm reading A Course in Miracles now, and I can give a slew of books, and probably when I'm done, I'll give Jeremy, probably my top 10 books. But all this stuff, you can consume it in a bunch of different fashions. You can consume it on audiobooks. You can consume it in person. Different ways to consume it. One way I consume a lot of stuff is that, okay, I'll say, hey, I got a 30-minute ride in the morning. I'm going to discipline myself to at least listen to 30 minutes of this, and I'll have a little notebook or a notepad. And if I get to a stoplight or if I get to a stop sign, and I heard something that I like, I'll write it down. And I don't try to memorize it. I'll write it down just so, it kind of sticks in my brain better and I can retain it or go back to it at some point. But I take notes like that, like I take notes in class. But, that's it. And I'm pretty sure we'll write it down because it'd be hard to rewind the stuff and get all the titles.
Yeah, my three, I have a bunch, but I'll start with was Rich Dad Poor Dad by Robert Kiyosaki, framing up just the basics of how money works, liabilities and assets. And I think you grow up thinking one thing, or maybe you were taught a certain thing, and then you realize, hey, no, that's really taking money out of my pocket, not putting money in my pocket. Understanding passive income, understanding how the rich continue to get richer, and how certain mindsets will do this or that. I think that's a really good, just to understand that and be taught the basics. Next is Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill, which really will navigate and help your thought process, in a positive manner towards where you want to be, kind of really manufacturing the thoughts of how you see yourself, how it feels, like the emotion of it. And I think it helps you dial into, I could actually feel way before things happen to me what they would feel like what it would feel like to pick a magazine up off the shelf with me on it, what it would feel like to hand it to my grandfather, and how proud how that would feel. I started to tap into thoughts of things that I could feel way before they ever happened. So that was a whole nother train of thought. And then understanding the principles of how to operate once my brain was in the right path with the wisdom of Andrew Carnegie told by Napoleon Hill, and a true 1819 principles that I could live by and operate around. And also, and here's the key, and you'll notice this, any of you guys that have read the mindset manual that I put together a while back, a lot of these principles are similar, and then they're wrapped around personal stories, and that it's like, I, to this day, when I'm having trouble in certain areas, I'll go back to that. That's what I love about great books. You can refer back to them in certain chapters to get you on the right path. Like literally the other day, I felt like there was a lot going on, and I was like, you know what? I should go back and read the chapter on organizing my thinking. And I swear to you, it took me 12 minutes to read the chapter on how to organize my thoughts, and it made me be able to organize my thoughts better. Like I felt like I couldn't organize them for whatever reason it was, and boom. So I think that these things are like, continually books that I refer back to on how I want to operate and who I want to be. So hopefully this will be something that you guys can continue your education on outside of this podcast, and it'll help spark some great thoughts. I think that's fucking about to be a wrap, though. Hey, John, what do you think?
Yeah, man. No, I was just thinking about when you write, you were talking about the book you wrote, Mo was talking about the book you wrote. When you write things in your past, you actually write them down physically, and you look back at them. Mo was talking about it. It was eerie. So as you were talking, I was digesting it, and I'm just like, man, when I look back at some of the stuff I've written, it is eerie in a good way, because it almost feels like, wow, that came from me. So I would encourage everybody, man, just start writing stuff. Write anything. Or I've told you this many times, man. I have a paper I wrote on my belief in God when I was 20 years old, when I was all angry, messed up, and it's exactly how I would describe it to this day. And so it's just like, man, no matter where you're at in life, just write. Just write a little bit. It's healthy.
Lost art of that too. Hey, so we got to make sure that you subscribe to the podcast. Like, look, I'm feeling that you're listening, but we really feel it when you subscribe, because we're in the top 10. We're in the top 15 in business. We want to stay there. And when you subscribe, when you share it with your friends, you got to share this episode so they can get the books for their library. And that's how all this stuff spreads, so everybody can have that success and at least be, find something that really motivates them. And I think that,
hey, we're making stickers, right? If you subscribe, we're gonna send you, just like when you vote. I voted today. I subscribed today with our beautiful faces, just like the cover of iTunes. You guys have to help us out. Stop going to SoundCloud and hitting play, and just hit subscribe on iTunes.
Check this out. If you are in remotely close to us, now this will be real time, but this next Thursday, so this goes out on Sunday, then Sunday, Monday, this next Thursday coming up, we're doing Business and Biceps live. So make sure, once again, around the Arnold, the Thursday night before the Arnold, me, Mo, and John Fosco in person. We're gonna give you guys the location. We're trying to get some T-shirts done up. We're gonna have a bunch of Q&A. We're gonna try to really help some people. Like, I'm super excited about that. Look for that information. And once again, the episode is brought to you by Four Sigmatic. It's foursigmatic.com/biz, B-I-Z, BIZ, BIS 15, and you got to check out. They got so many cool. First of all, the brand is awesome. They've got a great concept of using mushrooms with coffee mix and all these really unique things. They got a hot cocoa with reishi. They got the hot cocoa with cordyceps. Like, they are putting together products that have created like better focus without the jitters. And most people that are major coffee drinkers, they start taking in so much caffeine throughout the day, they need an alternative so they're not all hopped up. And so honestly, Four Sigmatic has done an unbelievable job with their brand. They want to extend a discount. I've seen a lot of people on my Snapchat that have utilized this, so check out, it's Biz Buy. So foursigmatic.com/biz, B-I-Z, B-I-S 15. The discount automatically applies. And of course, with Robinhood, the cryptocurrency isn't on there yet, but it's coming. And so if you want to trade that or any of these great stocks, you get no trading fees, and you get a free share of stock if you go to biceps.robinhood.com, and it can be Apple, Ford, or Sprint. You got to learn by doing. Like, this gives you a chance to trade in and out of the market and start to really do some due diligence with no trading fees applied.
Let me throw something on Robinhood
please.
for it. So guys, I trade almost every day, and straight up, after you download the app from the App Store, the Robinhood app, I'm telling you, if you have not used E-Trade America, all these other stupid companies, this is the easiest app to use, and it makes the market fun. And it does not confuse you. So you can get in there, feel comfortable, and dig in and learn the market. The market is going to be the base of your financial future as you build your wealth. Start with Robinhood today, because you can continue with them for a long time.
Absolutely. Hey, so once again, make sure you subscribe. Make sure you tell your friends. We need reviews, 5-star review. Give us a positive rating, everything. Can the podcast... Wait, hold on. Did I hear some? Yes, yeah, no, it can't be. Oh, hey, they asked, can the podcast be stopped? The podcast can't be stopped! What's up?